What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. So this is going to be a really short trip. It's just to test the lower unit that I purchased. I got this off of eBay. I'll bring you in close, let you take a look at it, but we're going to run out, test it, see if everything's working properly. It's not in absolutely perfect shape, but hopefully it's in working order. So I tested it on the hose in the driveway. Everything looked like it was functioning properly, going in and out of gear like it was supposed to. Let's drop it in the water and see how she performs. Well, she goes in reverse. That's a good sign. It's running real good. I changed the plugs in it, and that seems to have made a pretty big difference. It's very responsive. Got a boat coming at me, so I need to pay attention to what they're doing. Let it warm up just a little bit before I rip on it. It's still pretty cold. I try to let them warm up first. It's not really good on a motor to just put it in the water and then jump on plane immediately. So we're gonna give it a minute and then we'll be right back. never got above 7 psi. That is not good at all. So we're gonna have to figure that out for sure. Not exactly sure. I thought that the very bottom of the lower unit, where there's a little pinhole in the front, I'll show you guys in a minute, but there's a little pinhole in the front. I thought that was for the speedometer, like the high-speed pickup for the bottom of the lower unit. So evidently it's got something to do with water pressure as well, so we're gonna have to get that unplugged. See you back at the house. I'll show you guys there what it looks like. All right, I made it back home. I don't think this has anything to do with it. I believe it has to do with the speedometer, but I'm gonna go ahead and clear it out, and I think I'm gonna have to pull back off the lower unit and check out the water pump. I'm not sure, but it's always my luck. I always have to work on stuff. Like, why can't I just bolt something on and it work? It's never that easy, but let me show you what's going on. All right, so you see this little end piece here? Probably not gonna focus on you, but she's clogged. So we're gonna get that cleaned out and back open. So see you back in a minute. All right, everybody. So it is day 2 on this little project, and of course it wasn't that problem. It is a speedometer pickup tube, so it doesn't matter. I did clear it. I'll show you what that looks like cleared. As you can see that, there's a little hole there. I don't know if it'll focus in on it, but I can show you on the other unit. There you go. There's a better look at what that actually looks like in the front of that unit. It's just a pickup for your speedometer on the dash, which I don't even have that hooked up. It's not very accurate anyway, so that doesn't matter. So let me tell you what I actually found out was the issue. And whenever I was running, I knew that everything was working the way it should, but I wasn't getting my water pressure that I was supposed to. I'm supposed to be running around 15 to 20 psi, so I knew something obviously wasn't right. And so on the inside of the lower unit, there is a tube that sits above where it connects right here on the water pump. And that tube doesn't really move. So if you get your shaft lined up, it just fits right in. It can't really move inside this particular motor. So I knew that was lined up because, it was going in gear, out of gear like it was supposed to. So I got to looking around and I figured out that since they replaced the housing on this, the water pump housing, right here, can you see this little piece right here? Okay, so on the other one, inside here, there is a rubber grommet that goes down under this cap. Well, I pulled the lower unit back off, and this cap right here was there, but the rubber grommet underneath was missing. So I took this one out, pulled the grommet out of here, and put it in the other one. So we're going to take it back out and water test it. Hopefully that was my problem. I'm about 99.9% sure that was exactly the issue. So hopefully that takes care of the problem. And I don't have no more issues. God, it's been horrible. Taking that lower unit on and off is not really hard. It's just time consuming. It is something that you really do need a second set of hands, especially when you put it back on. It's just so dang heavy, and trying to hold it up and get everything lined up, which is just the shift linkage. There's a tube that comes down for where the shift linkage shaft comes out of the back of the lower unit, and that tube kind of flops around a little bit, and what'll happen a lot of times is that shaft, it'll kind of wedge itself on the bottom of that tube, and then you have to kind of like move the tube slightly over and then go ahead and push it all the way up. That, holding back, you know, a 50, 70 pound lower unit and keeping it within accuracy of like a millimeter is pretty difficult with just two hands. So I did have my neighbor come over, help me out, and get it held in place while I got everything lined up and then pushed in. So I really appreciate him. So we're gonna get this loaded back up, head back to the river, and test her again. So you guys stay tuned, see what happens. All right guys, I made it to the water, dropped it in. We're gonna test it on the trailer this time, make sure that my water pressure comes up like it's supposed to. So let's check it out. Haven't started it yet, so you guys can see and witness with me. All right, let's watch that water pressure. Just a little bit of throttle and we got water pressure, so that's looking good so far. And it took a minute to come up there for a second, but I guess there was some water or air in the system, so let's go ahead and drop her in the water and make sure everything's working as it should. Kind of a quick recap of the last week. You know, last week whenever I was out in the boat, we were just cruising along at like 60 miles an hour. The lower unit took a crap on me. I didn't know at the time what the problem was, but what it ended up being, I took it to a place called Clark Marine. It's in Franklin, Tennessee. They checked it out and diagnosed it as being my pinion gear exploded and went through my lower unit, which ultimately destroyed the entire unit. Fortunately, I found this lower unit on eBay and purchased it, and that's where we move into the scenario of what you guys have seen. I put it on, brought it out, and I had low water pressure even though it was working properly. The only issue was the water pressure. So I think that we've rectified that problem, but we're gonna go ahead and get out on the water. We're gonna take a look at it and make sure that everything is as it should be. Looking good so far. I use two hands for this. right, so that run right there, I was doing 68 miles an hour at 4,800 RPM, and I was running at 15 PSI, so that did fix the problem. I'd still like to see my water pressure a little bit higher, but I think that that's normal. So I'm pretty happy with that. We're gonna do a little cruising around. Maybe I'll get on some fish here in a little bit. We'll see you guys back in a minute. Alright guys, I'm going to call that a successful test. Everything seems to be running perfectly fine. I'm really liking what I'm seeing. I'm running around 15 PSI even with the motor trimmed up, so that's looking really good. I'm going to throw a crank around and see if I can't get a fish on. Christen this new lower unit with a new fish. This is a Strike King 3XD. Pretty sweet looking bait. Let's see if we can get one on that.
There he is. So you got one?
Yep. There he is, guys. First smallmouth. Let's christen the new lower unit. All right, guys. I can't really reach it, so we're just gonna have to. There we go. Oh, heck yeah! So that puts a close to the day. I appreciate you guys watching, and we'll catch you on the next one.